Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday. We've made it. But the good news is real football is back. Welcome to the Lockdown Series, episode 10. KC's back. It's coming, KC. It's coming. Here we go. So I think I did a classic technical glitch and inadvertently muted myself while I was doing the intro. But what I said was, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Series. This is episode 10. The good news is real football is back, and so is Super Kev.
Oh, back. Love it. Love it.
Energy as ever. This man appeared on our stateside podcast last night, popped in to surprise a bunch of US Gooners who were blown away and absolutely loved it at like 3:30 a.m. This morning. And he's traveled to Spain for work because he's covering two major La Liga games, including Mr. Unai Emery's team, and then the big match tomorrow night between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. But here he is looking as effervescent as ever.
It's Arsenal, isn't it? It's Arsenal. Come on, I've got plenty energy. Sophie, plenty for this.
All right, then let's roll. And hi, Stan, who's an Arsenal fan from Coventry. Wow, do you remember Coventry back in the day? Good team. They were fun to watch in the 80s.
Very good team, and under Gordon Strachan, they had a decent team as well.
Yeah. Did Coventry get to? Did they play Tottenham in an FA Cup final in the 80s? Was it? It wasn't the Ricky Villa one, was it? Was that?
No, that was Man City.
That was Man City. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Coventry played them and beat them. We're all Coventry fans that day. I'll never forget it.
We like that, and we'll all be Man City fans as well tomorrow. All right, KC, lots of news, right? So the international break sometimes can yield lots of different threads, arcs, stories, call it what you want. And Arsenal have always been a very private club. Even under Wenger, he was always able to contain things. The DNA and culture of that changed a little bit under Unai Emery. Lots of stories kind of came out to be, and it felt like Arteta was going to be the kind of manager that could also contain some of these stories and stuff. So let's start at the very beginning. I was on Harry's show the other day and we were talking about the Danny Ceballos, David Luiz fight. Mm-hmm. You know, some people think it's a case of handbags at football dawn, and the others feel like this is a trigger of other issues that have been going on, in that Pepe coming out and making comments. You know, Willian going to Dubai. Now we've got players fighting. Is this indicative of maybe a bit of loose management from Arteta? What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, believe you me, it happens at every football club, and it never gets spoken about because this is, listen, you've got a group of men playing against each other, battling, and you know, when things ain't going well, there's an edge to it sometimes. And you know what? I'd be worried if they weren't scrapping, Sophie. I'd be worried if they weren't putting the work in and having a go at each other. So that shows me in a roundabout way as a player that they care. They care about it. So no, I don't think it's Arteta.
But KC, is there a difference? As a fan, I see it a little bit differently than you, because you've probably witnessed a dozen, maybe more fights
and the rest. Sophie, throughout them successful years, let me tell you, there was a lot of scraps going on. Trust me.
But there's scraps for competitiveness, and then there's petulance. And I think the reason why some Arsenal fans are questioning this one, because Arsenal fans are bright. They know that these things happen all the time. And especially in your era, playing with the players you were playing with George Graham, we can only imagine. And obviously we've heard some of the legendary stories. But there's a bit of petulance with Ceballos because of what happened with Eddie. And I mentioned this on Harry's show. Check it out, everyone. Chronicles of a Gooner. It's a great show.
Yeah, very good show.
I was saying to Harry that I spoke to Graham Hunter because I reached out to Graham, as you know, superb on Spanish football, expert, has written a couple great books on Barcelona. Pass the Ball, Take the Ball. If you haven't seen it on Netflix, it's a brilliant documentary that his book was turned into. And I said, what's up with Danny? And he said, look, he's a really super talented footballer, but he's he's got one of those wires loose up here where he's got that crazy in him. You know, he doesn't think before he acts. And now we've seen the second incident with him. And I laughed because someone on Twitter said, let's just see him go at Kolasinac and see what he's really got. Does that worry you about him? Or does you put it in the same bucket?
No, listen, it all goes in the same bucket because in a squad, the makeup of everybody is totally different. Now, the leadership that Luiz showed is very important because let me just tell you this. If he's allowed to get away with what he's been getting away with, having that screw loose, as you say, and he could start splitting the squad, that's a totally different thing. But David Luiz stuck it on him. He stuck it on him. That ain't happening here. So however he had to put it to him, that's the way he's got to do it. And he done it, and it's over and finished. And now Danny Ceballos will think twice about what he's doing now, as opposed to having that screw loose and just doing what he wants to do. Because an experienced player and an elder put him in his place. It's important.
That's a really great point that I haven't seen a lot of people make, because the fact that he's probably said, aye, son, and you've probably seen this, you know, even when you were younger too, with some of the senior players you've played with, he probably grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and said, this isn't how you're a professional. And Danny definitely has that arrogance about him for sure. So that's a really great point, Casey, the fact that someone like David Luiz, because to be honest with you, we've not really heard stories about David fighting with his teammates. So he's had a couple issues, mostly when he hasn't been able to play. But he's definitely been a good professional in his career. And people talk about his leadership at Arsenal when we've lacked leadership. And maybe in the past, Casey, with previous players in this team over the last 5 years, maybe that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, you're right. And we kept hearing under Arsene Wenger, especially that it's such a good dressing room. It's such a good dressing room. Maybe they needed some of this. Maybe that's what they needed because, you know, you've got to lead by example. If you're an experienced player in a dressing room, you are like the police. You police it. So the experienced boys police it. Obviously, there's players that weren't there because they're on international duty. David Luiz is the most senior player there. So everything, the buck stops with him. And you know what? This isn't about Mikel Arteta. He's the manager. The buck stops with the most experienced player. Because if it happens on the most experienced player's watch, you haven't got a great dressing room. So that's why he nipped it in the bud.
What was the fight, EFTV Media? Good evening. What was the Luiz fought with Higuain? Was that in an international, or was that when when Higuain was with Juventus and he was with Chelsea? I'll have to look that one up because
but they weren't teammates.
No,
they couldn't have been teammates. So they fought, which is normal. Having a fight against an opponent is normal. But
come a bit closer to your mic, Casey. Come a bit closer to your mic.
Yeah. What we're talking about is them being on the training pitch and being in the same space, in the same showers, you know, eating in the same place. This is the day-to-day living of a footballer with his teammates is so important for when you go on the pitch. So having an issue like that happen, where one of the players is being disruptive or is not pulling his weight or whatever, is for the senior players to put him in line. And I'm so pleased David Luiz did.
All right. So let's move on because Arteta brushed it off as well. And rightly so. He's not going to engage and sit and talk about it in his presser, is he, Casey? He doesn't want to bring any attention to that when we have a huge game coming up against Leeds and a Bielsa team that can be really dangerous on Sunday. Before we get to that, there are still a couple of other issues I wanted to cover with you before we kind of tackle the football side. Willian goes to Dubai. I'm a bit cheeky on the banner here. I said maybe he should have stayed there. He's out doing the old sort, BAE or whatever it is and having a good time. Not very smart move. His agent came out with some bullshit excuse about why he was there after not really performing very well and having been very lackluster since Fulham. Didn't seem like Arteta knew about this one much. What are your thoughts about that? Players do stuff like this all the time again, but this is what
I don't know what is all the
he shouldn't be he shouldn't be traveling during this time.
Why not?
Well, I mean, look, we've had El Neni come back with COVID. We've had Kolasinac come back with COVID.
In England. So that's got nothing to do
was it really necessary? Was it really necessary for him to travel to Dubai at this point? Can you guys hear KC? Let me know. We want to make sure that you guys can hear him really well because I hear him loud and clear on my end. So just let me know if you give me a thumbs up in chat if you guys can hear KC properly. Well, KC, I think it's international break. He can do what he wants, I guess. Just like NFL players here when they have a bye week, they can go wherever they want.
Yeah, but look, I think the important thing to remember is this, Sophie. You whether people like it or not, and you know what, they wouldn't if Arsenal had won against Aston Villa, so you beat Manchester United and then you beat Aston Villa, nobody would say anything. Nobody would have said a word. But the fact of the matter is, they haven't been performing. William hasn't hit the heights that he usually hits, etc. Now all of a sudden it's an issue. You can travel. He's got the opportunity to travel. You cannot go to Dubai without having a COVID test. That's fact. You cannot travel. So if you prove that you haven't got a COVID, that's the only reason how you can get into Dubai. Why not take a few days in the sunshine and get away from it all? I don't know how that is a problem. I just don't get it. You're allowed to travel. If you couldn't travel, that's something different. But you are still allowed to travel.
I just find it, by the way, I completely always forget, and this is what I love about our listeners in chat. I completely forget that Higuain was at Chelsea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a memorable time, but thanks for the reminder, you guys. I always appreciate it. We've got so much data in these heads that sometimes we need you guys.
Sophie, yeah. Again, Sophie, if somebody isn't pulling their weight, the experienced players get them into shape. That is the way it works, and that's the dressing room. That's the law of the jungle in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Experienced boys are the police.
Yeah. And I did say that, I mean, I think overall David Luiz has been a good teammate over the years, and people would say that, playing for Brazil and also for Chelsea. And now with Arsenal, he's definitely leader at Arsenal. Okay, so just swinging back with the Willian thing. I just think in a time whether no matter what your opinion is about COVID, and if you're not on international break, look what's happened, right? Jurgen Klopp hasn't publicly said what he said personally to Salah, but Salah goes to his brother's wedding and parties with like hundreds of people. That's just not smart. No one's wearing a mask and all that jazz. It's not because whether you believe or whatever it is, whether a mask helps or not, I'm not going to put that on people. But the point is that you play for Liverpool Football Club. Your personal life, you want to be there for your brother and his wedding, but I don't care whether this sounds cold or not, but he's a commodity, and he's a very valuable commodity for Liverpool. And when Liverpool have injuries across the board, I mean, they're depleted right now with injuries. It was a very irresponsible thing to do, considering. So I think the Willian thing, again, KC, was it essential? No. Was it a family issue? No. Did he have to do it? No. El Neni comes back with COVID. Kolasinac comes back with COVID. It affects the team.
Yeah, but hold on a minute, Sophie. How do you know he didn't need to get away? This is the problem. Everybody seems to know best, but you are not the player. The player, his form hasn't been great. Maybe he just needs to get away from it and clear his head. Nobody takes that into consideration. I've been there as a player. And sometimes, how do you decompress? Staying in England, you cannot decompress. The only way you decompress is by getting out of the area. And yeah, of course you can afford to go to a place like Dubai. But again, there are necessary travel instances where you have to prove that you haven't got COVID before they let you in. And if you do that, then fine. So,
yeah.
I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand what everybody's talking about. But being an ex-player, I understand why the players want to get away, and the players want to be normal, Sophie. They want to be normal.
We all want to be normal.
They want to be normal with the family. I understand he's a commodity for Liverpool, but he's still got family. Salah. That's his family.
I want to go see my mum and dad in Cyprus, but it's just not a good idea. You know what I mean? Hold on one second there, Casey. Hold on one second. Can you? This is Casey's traveling and he's in Spain right now, and I know some of you are having some sound issues. I can hear him super clearly. My sound is normal. I probably sound louder because Casey sounds really softer. Casey, try putting in your headphones again, and let's see if that's going to be better for the listeners. And as you do that, I'm just going to respond to what you're saying. So, it's a very, I think that's going to be better. Let's hear you say Arsenal are amazing and I scored lots of goals for them.
Come at you, Gunners.
Let us know if that's better for you guys and we'll keep it at that. I just think that in this time, a little bit more caution is important. Look, El Nenny's come back with COVID now, so has Kolasinac. We've lost Partey in midfield. Now we don't have El Nenny. If Tierney, God forbid, were to get injured, there's no Kolasinac. Yeah, sure, Maitland-Niles can play in every position on the pitch, maybe other than striker. So it's high risk, Casey. I guess that's my point.
Yeah. How is it high risk when you have to test before you go? You see,
well, you and I have to.
Let me ask this question to you and to the fans: can a player not get COVID in England? Because you're making things though. Him going to Dubai is going to make him get COVID. But he can get COVID anywhere.
But he's putting himself at a higher risk by traveling.
How? No, how? How is he when everybody on that plane is tested negative?
Because when he's in Dubai, there might be people that haven't traveled and have been exposed, and he's not wearing a mask and he's out at a public restaurant, and it just becomes a little bit.
Yeah, so what you're saying is any professional footballer should just stay at home and not do anything. That's what you're saying. Because, I'd rather take my chances going to somewhere where the COVID test has been done and you cannot be there unless you've had your COVID test and it's negative.
I think. And
being elsewhere and just being open.
I think what Billy's saying is maybe I don't know if it's law, but also under Arsenal, what the club has said. Is he or the club told? Unless they were playing for their international teams, I don't think the club wanted them traveling. Nobody else travelled.
Well, but here's the thing. This is what I said. You don't know whether he needed to get away for his head. His own head, because don't forget he's been getting a lot of flack, Sophie, and it's not nice. So maybe he needed to clear his head because he can't get away from it here, and it's not an excuse. That's just the truth.
Well, he could have gone to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, but don't test there. You don't have to test to go to the Isle of Wight. Look, I do totally understand what you're saying, Sophie, and I'm just trying to take it from a player's point of view.
Right.
And when everything's going well, Sophie, this people won't even really look at this. But because he's been great, and Arsenal struggled. Let's be honest. Let's be totally honest. Arsenal struggled. That's why all these things go under the magnifying glass.
All right. Well, I think this one divides opinion a little bit, depending on where you stand on things. And look, we all want to travel and be normal and have freedom and do things. And like I said, you know, I want to go see my parents, but I'm choosing not to do that right now for their own safety and their reasons, right? So let's talk about El Neni comes back with COVID. Kolasinac comes back with COVID. Even though Kolasinac isn't a starter right now, KC, Arteta has used him as a sub when Tierney's been injured. He's actually brought him on a sub in several games. El Neni, more so part of his plans this season, he's tried to play him as a partner in that midfield with various players. Did not have a great game against Aston Villa, as we all know, but nobody did. Unfair to just pick on El Neni. He also has had some good games. Thomas Partey, I think maybe these ones we kind of combine. I think the biggest news of the week, aside from handbags at dawn, Dubai, you know, masquerading, El Neni coming back with COVID, Kolasinac coming back with COVID, Thomas Partey's thigh injury is a real concern. And now with no El Neni, we kind of revert back to the old Arsenal midfield. That's a big deal, isn't it? Losing Thomas Partey. And do you think this injury is a little bit more serious than the club is letting on?
Maybe not. I don't really know. I'm not part of the medical staff. But one thing I will say is if it was a lot more serious, then I think there would be more doom and gloom from the club. They wouldn't even say anything, as opposed to putting out, it just won't be for this Leeds game. You know, you'd want to keep it under wraps and keep it quiet. Maybe have to go and see a specialist in all this time, and would there be an operation? And if there was an operation, get the operation done. But obviously none of that has come out. So I just think it's a little bit, you know, wear and tear. He's not going to be right for this game because it's probably come a bit too quick. The 2 weeks weren't enough, obviously. But hopefully he'll be fit for Wolves game.
How do you see then, without El Neni too, you know, do we go back to a Xhaka, Ceballos? Is this a chance for Willock maybe to play against Leeds? Or, you know, we may as well just shift into the game here. Is Arteta going to approach this? Because he did an interview where he talked about how he's not really, you know, the knee-jerk reaction for a bad result is to change everything. You know, wipe the board clean, start brand new. And he kind of indicated that that's not always the best way forward. So I think Arsenal fans need to be prepared that he's not really going to change too much in this match. But who do you see him then going with in the midfield?
I think he'll revert back to how we finished back in the last season with Xhaka and Ceballos in the central midfield. I believe he feels he can trust them in there. I think that might obviously then bring Willock onto the bench at least. I'm not sure how he'll obviously go up top. But I personally think, and listen, I mean, people won't agree with me. I know they won't. But fans always have a knee-jerk reaction. And it was a bad loss. I hold my hand up. And can he change it? Of course he can. I want to see the attitude of the players change, because I keep hearing people say Arteta needs to send them out with a dip, you know, needs to change it because the players need to be more positive. I don't think Mikel Arteta sets up the team for them to be negative. I think it's the players who play too safe. So I think that's what needs to change. I think the players need to take it upon themselves to get out there and be positive. Whoever he chooses. If he doesn't change it, obviously there's going to be changes forced because of no Partey, no El Neni, etc. But whoever plays, the attitude has to be right to go for the game.
Yeah. I find it absolutely incredible that and I bring his name up again only because it's an example of why does Arteta get away with everything not being his fault, and now it's all the players' fault, whereas before it was all Emery's fault that we were in relegation form?
No. I'm not saying. Listen, he takes it up as Arteta does. I'm saying I want to see the players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's not Arteta's issue. It's his problem. He has to fix it. He has to find the right balance. But what we've seen, Sophie, in most of his games, if we're honest, whether he changes it or not, we have seen Arsenal not being aggressive attacking wise. We have seen that. So no matter who he chooses, we have seen Arsenal not being themselves attacking wise. So I want to see whoever he picks, them have the balls to go out there and go for it. That's what I want to see.
Okay. All right. So we're assuming a 3-4-3. Luiz, Gabriel, Tierney, and then you got Bellerin, Ceballos, Xhaka, Saka, hopefully Pepe, Lacazette, and Aubameyang. And then Leeds, maybe KC playing a 4-1-4-1. Bamford being a real danger. Rodrigo, I think, coming back from sickness. You've got really fast breaking squad, as well as the fact that they can break fast. They've also conceded a lot of goals. The average height of their team is 183.1 and ours is 182.9 centimeters. Their shots per game, 1.2. Ours is 0.8. Aerial dual success is pretty much the same, 47%. And tackles, 1.6 for Leeds, 1 for us. Here's some interesting facts about us playing against each other. It's been a long time since we've played against each other in the Premier League. And Arsenal have scored at least 3 goals in their last 4 away matches against Leeds in all competitions. Arsenal have been winning at both half-time and full-time in their last 4 away matches against Leeds in all competitions. Arsenal have won their last 4 away matches against Leeds in all competitions. And, that win ratio is 3.6. This is what the betting is saying. And thanks to whoscored.com for those stats on the previous games. There have been over 2.5 goals scored in Leeds' last 3 games in the Premier League. They can definitely score. They can concede. We can't score. Everything from the past goes out the window a little bit, Casey. But these two teams seem to have similar issues, whether they're playing home or away, in terms of how they set up. It seems like we're in a more opportune situation here, playing them away, and how Arteta likes to set up. Talk me through that a little bit in terms of the Bielsa system, how you think he's going to attack this game, knowing what Arteta's going to do playing away from home.
Well, the Bielsa system is built to suffocate the opposition and not give the opposition time on the ball. Because when you play 4-1-4-1, the lone striker obviously occupies the 2 centre halves. But the 4 that's behind him do not allow you to try and play through them. Obviously, good teams can play through them and catch them on the break. And once you can beat the press, you are right at that back 4 and you can really make opportunities, as proven by Leicester. Leicester gave them a right going over, scoring 4 goals, because they were smart enough how to beat the press. I know Mikel Arteta knows how to do it. He's done it against Liverpool. He's proven he can do it. But the key problem, and great, all the stats are fantastic. Do you know what? Put them in the bin. Because a lot of these players have been away on international duty, Sophie, and we don't know where their heads at. We don't know what condition they're in. Are they going to be feeling tough? We just don't know. Same thing for some of the Leeds players. What we have to do, I'm sure Mikel Arteta has got his game plan down, so the players have to execute. And that's what it comes down to. As a football club and as a team, we just haven't been executing the game plan properly enough. If we can execute the game plan, there's goals at Ellen Road. We know that. But can we execute the plan? That is the difficult part for us. And we haven't been doing it before the international break.
Bet365 are calling a 1-0 win for Leeds. It seems to me, Casey, with these two teams, just one goal in it. I know we haven't scored a lot, and someone just gave me a horrific stat in chat. It may have been Barry, and I'll try and find it. But apparently, yeah, I know it's Billy. Billy's trying to sign Tyrese. Look at this. Look at this stat. Is that true? I've not seen that stat. That is horrific. That is a horrific stat.
Yeah, but look, it has been horrific. We know that. Tell me, Billy, tell me something we don't know. We haven't been playing well. We know we haven't. We need to find Arteta. Is that 2 weeks now, Sophie? Is that 2 weeks to find that balance? So I know players have been on international duty, but it's got to come up with something. Now, whether it's the message he gives to the players, or whether it's a change in system, or whatever it is, Arsenal need to find a balance and get playing. Because let's be honest, it just hasn't been good enough. So it has not been good enough.
Okay, a couple quick questions. This one's going to be a shorty today, guys, because we got the game on Sunday. We might be doing a post-game show. We've done a lot of shows. We've got 10 now in the bank for lockdown series. We'll definitely be talking about the game on Monday, no doubt. I just wanted to get a couple of the listener questions answered, Casey, because Pramod, one of our favorites, he brings up a great point. This is, you make big decisions and you let Guendouzi go on loan. Are decisions like that going to come to bite us in the arse?
No, how? People have been crying out, Willock ain't getting a game. Smith Rowe ain't getting a game. So what about these guys? Guendouzi's been a problem. Arteta reprimanded him, gave him another chance. You don't want to know. Get out, move, go alone, go and play somewhere else. Other lads there.
All right, let's get to Newman's. KC, if you're playing a 5-2-3 against Villa, aren't you telling the players they're inferior to Villa? Mentally, the system is putting them on the back foot. I'm not sure we're going to see that kind of performance again, but go on.
No, because it's only 5 when you're defending. See, it's only 5 when you're defending. When you're attacking, it should be 3-5-2. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
We were always on the back foot most of the time against Villa. So, again, you don't forget all these systems. People think of the system makes the play. No, it's the players that make the system. Let's get it right. Because if the players don't perform in any system, you ain't going to win. That's the issue.
Do you agree with Robin here? I think Leeds' style of play suits us. I've heard a lot of fans say that.
Well, listen, let me tell you this. The bottom line is this. Teams that come on to us, of course it suits us because they leave gaps. But if you're not playing well and you can't exploit them, it ain't going to suit us at Ellen Road, let me tell you, because they're going to sort us out. If we don't perform, they're going to sort us out because this Leeds team are dangerous.
Okay, Tashi, have you been drinking the coot? What's happening? Did you have a bad night? No, not yet. No. We love you, but no. And then Barry makes a good point. You got to remember, a lot of us never thought we'd win at United, but we played great. So let's get behind the team, be positive, and have a bit of faith. KC, that is definitely your mantra. Listen,
well done.
As you know, I'm a PR person by trade as well, and I got to tell you that to me, Pepe coming out and being vocal, the fight between Luiz and Danny, Willian going to Dubai, Oba looking unhappy, general not very productive play from the Arsenal. Things have changed a lot since the FA Cup. An inexperienced manager sometimes might get overwhelmed when you're managing a big club like Arsenal. I know that he's got an ego. He's a little bit arrogant, which you need in this business. You've got to be. If you're not, you're never going to make it. Before we go, Casey, and we do our predictions, do you think that Arteta might be for the first time feeling the pressure? And for him, the international break came at the perfect time to maybe fix some of these things that have gone wrong during a time where really he's not had much control over his players. But also things from the training pitch making the press. That's a little bit worrying, isn't it?
Who?
Well, for me,
well, again, am I talking about Arteta or am I worrying about you, my darling? Because if I'm going to be worrying about you, then I would say, yeah, you don't like these things coming out of the club because you're used to Arsenal having the class and keeping it on the inside. But these players are different now. People come and people talk to press, and people are friends with press in a different way, etc. You know, there's grasses in the camp. Yeah, there are. There's always something going on. Now, from Arteta's point of view, Arteta's been under pressure from the moment he signed for Arsenal as head coach and manager. Okay? There's always pressure. When you're winning games, there's less pressure. When you're not playing well and losing games, there's a little bit of more pressure. It's just like you're in the pot, somebody's turning up that heat underneath you. Yeah. And did the Aston Villa game and international break come at the right time? Probably not, because you know what? You'd never want to go into 2 weeks on a negative. Of course you don't. You always want to be going into the international break on a positive, I'm sure. But what he's probably had to do is had to take that pressure and he's had to go and look at some of those games, Sophie, and look at how is he going to actually fix and get the right balance in this team. Because we've got the players. We have got good players in this squad. But what we haven't got, we just don't have the right balance at the moment. And that's what he has to fix.
Okay. Do you think I'm being not melodramatic, but okay, we'll use that word. For me, these next 3 games are the most critical in Arteta's almost 1-year tenure as Arsenal manager. Leeds, Wolves, Spurs. Mm-hmm. You can't lose these games.
What happens if he did lose all 3?
That would be bad. Come on, Casey.
Yeah, I know, but you said these are the most 3 critical games. What happens if he loses all 3?
I think that we start to question him a little bit. In all seriousness,
he's being questioned now anyway.
No, seriously questioned. I think right now people are just panicking. I'm not saying I'm panicking. I just think it's okay to criticize him when we have played so poorly and offensively. You know, even Unai Emery was better than him, right? We're a cup team.
Let me ask you this then, Sophie. Let me ask you this. If Arsenal played well in all 3 games and didn't win,
well, I think
played well.
Okay, but I'm going to say against Leeds, against Tottenham, result is more important than performance, period.
No, we know that. I'm only going on the batch because you said these are the most 3 critical games. So I'm going to take a worst case scenario, but the team plays better. Because that's what he needs to fix. He needs to fix the team playing better in order to win.
Right, okay? But so what are we saying then that we're willing to accept another mediocre? Yeah, I don't want to. I don't accept. I'm telling you, I don't accept another mediocre season in the Premier League. I don't. Leeds are a promoted team. I know Bielsa's their coach, but you know what? They've been poor defensively too. They've been good and they've been not so good and naive at times. And that's just part of Bielsa's bravado, right? Wolves, are they as good as they were last season? Not yet, but they're hotting up. They're very dangerous on the counter. And they've also got that tenacity in defense as well. And they play, as we've said, they have a team in the image of their coach. Same with Leeds and Bielsa. Mourinho's kind of got there a little bit with Tottenham in terms of putting his moany, boring-esque stamp on Tottenham. But even as Arsenal fans, we can't argue. They have been prolific on the break.
They're getting results.
Right. So that's where I think at some point, what is Arteta's personality on this team? And look, all of those other managers inherited players, but they've also developed their own team too by Mourinho signed 8 or 9 new players now. Spirito signed how many new players now? That's really his team. Arteta's not quite there yet, but Brendan Rodgers, same with Leicester. He's had some signings, but he's also inherited a lot of players too. So at some point, a good manager, someone who has that talent, Casey, puts a stamp on the squad. And Arteta's done that in the FA Cup, but he's not been able to do that in the Premier League yet. And that's the point of difference for me.
Sophie, my dear, if Arsenal play better and lose the next 3 games, what do you see?
I say nice, but at the end of the day, you're paid to get results and you're paid to get ROI, and you haven't done it. So as well as we've played, the results, I think, have to come from that. And I know you'll probably turn and say, well, what if we win the next 3 games after that and we've played better?
No, I wouldn't even say that, because I'm only going to take the chunk of the next 3 games. Because if we look at the worst case scenario, Arsenal, well, this is what I hope. Arsenal cannot be anywhere near as bad as they were against Aston Villa. That was absolute terrible. You know it, I know it. It can't be that bad. This Leeds game is the key game, because we need to see a performance. Now, if they start going back to, if they perform like against Aston Villa, Leeds will wipe the floor with us. They will wipe the floor with us, whether they've just come up for the championship or not. Because if you remember, Sophie, we played them at the Emirates, and they battered us in the first half, but couldn't score. Arteta adjusted at half-time, and we ended up beating them pretty convincingly 2-0. He will be studying that game. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
What's your response to Musa here? There's been a few comments like that on our YouTube channel. I'm not, you know it. I've been telling you about them.
Listen, I don't give a monkey's what anybody wants to say. I've been in that dressing room and I know what it takes. So if you want to call me Arteta fanboy, call me Arteta fanboy. I don't care. But I tell you what I do know. What I do know is Mikel Arteta needs to find a way. He's the manager. He needs to find a way. I remember George Graham getting stick. George Graham in the second season as well. So
yeah, I mean,
come on.
Alex
nobody is exempt from criticism. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got Casey here for 2 more minutes. He's got a lot of work to do out there in Spain, and I am looking forward to taking the motorcycle on a ride along the Pacific Coast Highway in California to relax after another incredible week of shows here on the Highbury Squad. We couldn't do this without you. You guys are absolutely amazing. We love and adore you. We've done 10 episodes in the lockdown series. If you guys carry on watching the way you are and commenting the way you are, we might have to stick to being a daily show. I'm just saying. You may not get a full hour every day, but you'll get a little smorgasbord, or as we Greeks like to say, a little meze. And where KC is, a little tapas, a little taste of everything every single day of the week. And we vowed that to you guys a little while ago. So here we go, KC. Predictions are coming in. Barry, 2-1. Robin, 3-1.
I'll say 2-1 Arsenal. I'll take 3-1 Robin. I'll take 2-0 Billy. I will.
Moose's doubling down on the fanboy
Double down. He's an Emery man, isn't he? He's an Emery man.
Well, you'll be seeing Unaya's show tomorrow. His team plays tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, so KC, you say 2-1. Who do you see the goals coming from?
I think Aubameyang's got to get going. He has to get going. You know, he's too good a player for us not to get him involved. And I think Aubameyang's going to get a couple, 2-1.
I think there's some concerns. Yeah, smorgasbord, Robin. Yep. We use lots of colourful language here on the Highbury squad. Aubameyang scores both goals, you said?
2, Aubameyang.
Yeah. I fancy. Do you think Saka's going to play? Is he injured?
Not that I know of.
There's a question mark about him. I don't know if that's true. We'll have to keep our eye on that.
That little knock, but I haven't heard that he's not going to be involved.
You're 3-0 to the Arsenal. Very confident. I'll change you. We don't like that one at all.
Nice one, Musa. Nice one.
See, Musa's coming back now, not grovelling a little bit
to
the ledge.
He's still double down on me, though, Musa. You doubled down on me.
He doubled down. I love that there was a double down there. We enjoyed the American Gooner show too. All right, I have a feeling this is going to be a draw, KC. 2-2. Don't think we're gonna win. So we'll see how it goes. But all we want is, we want a good performance. But I think I think we need a good result too as well. And thank you to you guys as well for tuning in. And don't forget, if you've missed any of the episodes, there's some really good ones you can catch on the show. Next week, we're going to do a fun show where we talk about the most underrated. So I want you guys to do some homework. Get your lists going. It's going to be another top 5 show where we all share who we think are the most underrated players ever who have played for Arsenal. So not just now, but Arteta's, Emery's,
all the eras combined, or the players you've seen. Who are the 5 or 10? Do you want 10 or 5, Sophie?
I think we'll do 5. I think you're right on the number there, and we'll do 5. And then we're also going to have probably David Hillier join us for that one, which will be fun. And we'll have another Kevin Says next week and a whole bunch of other really, really good stuff. So, okay, Newman, real quick. Do you think a Villa defeat will affect Gabriel? No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. And yes, Tashi, KC is commentating on the big game and covering the big game this evening as well. If you haven't hit the like button, hit it. We never usually like because we have people like Tawana and Barry and Tashi and Jose and everybody in the room ask everyone to smash the like button for us and save this for next week. Okay. But that's a good one, by the way, a real good one. All right, KC, have a good time in Spain. Are you going?
There's only 5 players. There's only 5. You can only pick 5. It's going to be crazy. Look, smash the like button, smash it, keep it going. And listen, tell all your mates to come and see us. And it's all, so come on, you guys.